Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's weekly Dhikr. I hope everybody is well and things are going in a good way for you and your families. I mean, we are living in some testing times, and a lot of people that I know are going through all sorts of things at the moment. And may Allah make things easier for us all as we continue to go through these testing of times. And wherever we are, whether we're in the UK, dealing with COVID here, and Brexit in the new year, and if in the United States they're still working on the results of their election and the inauguration of the new president, and all of these things that had been tested. And I just read. I read in the New York Times that over 250,000 people in the United States have died of COVID-19. Well, that's an astonishing, figure, and very troubling. 250,000 people in the United States alone. It's yeah, I was just double checking it because it's really a troubling figure. 250,000 people in the United States alone have died of COVID-19. I mean, may Allah make things easier for all of their souls and for their families. And that's just in America. I haven't looked at the figures for a while. It was only because this popped up in the headlines in the New York Times, and I saw it, and I was just really quite taken aback. It's a shocking figure, and of course that figure is represent 250,000 lives, and how many families, may or may not be 250,000 families, because there may be people in the same family who have caught it, but it's still, that's an awful lot of people who are suffering as a result of this virus pandemic. And just in America alone. I mean, when we take this worldwide, so I mean, whatever is affecting us personally and our families personally, whether it's the COVID, which I think has affected most people in one way or another, or whether it's some related issue, or whether it's other things which are going on like Brexit. There's all sorts of things going on at the moment. We are really living in, it's like a pressure cooker of time. There's what's going on at the moment. And I've noticed even a lot of people have been passing away over the past year, not because of COVID. I mean, my father passed away in September. It wasn't COVID that got him. My close friend's father passed away, I think it was in April. And again, that wasn't COVID. Sean Connery passed away. That wasn't COVID as well, from what was reported in the media. So there are also a lot of people that have been passing away this year. It's not been because of COVID-19. And that's in addition to the staggering figures of the people that have been dying of COVID-19. It is troubling. A lot of people that I know that have been around for a long time, and they've passed away. And I'm not just thinking about my father here, but famous actors, people that have been on TV. Who, Des O'Connor's another one. That name might not mean anything to people who are living elsewhere, but Des O'Connor used to do a talk show in the UK where he'd invite guests on. And this talk show was going for 25 years. And he had all sorts of people on this talk show. He was also a singer as well. And he passed away just, I think it was last week. But it's amazing how many people that are just in the same year who their souls are leaving us. It's like we are in a very very interesting time. It's a time when there seems to be a transition happening. Because why all of a sudden, and not only because of the virus that's been reported in the media, but because of people dying of natural causes or other reasons, but so many people passing away in the same year, influential people as well. I've lost count of the number of scholars of Islam who, I've been informed by my friend Umar, or Muhammad Umar. He always sends me a message when a scholar passes away. And the number of scholars that have passed away over the past year, it's striking. So we really are living in a very interesting time. And I think, maybe part of it is we were living in a time that was for at least a few decades. It seems fairly stable, But now it's like suddenly lots of things are happening. So it would appear that we're living in a time that it's preparing a new era for humanity. What we're going through now is like we're entering into a new era. And so this is why so many souls from the previous era are leaving us. And it's drawing our attention also to the fact that life is temporary. In the 20th century into the 21st, a lot of people, so at least since the mid-20th century until now, a lot of people have been living much longer lives than what that had been the case for at least for centuries. I mean, we do have reports in ancient books of people living a very long time as well, which in some cases is an article of faith for people, that this was the case. Whether it's a historical fact, who knows? I mean, this doesn't, just because we are living in a time that represents the epitome of learning and science and technology that we've experienced in the historical timeline that we've documented, in the history that we've documented. It does not mean that this is the only time that has happened since human beings have been walking on this earth that there has been scientific advancement. And now we've got these life-extending technologies, either through medicine or through other kind of therapies, maybe in future even genetics, that are actually causing human beings to live longer than previously. But who's to say that this wasn't the case at some point in the distant past, before a recorded history too, before some disaster took place, which changed everything? Who's to say? I mean, people are researching different things, and there's an awful lot of ancient artifacts around the world that go back way beyond our recorded history. So what were they? Who did they belong to? In the Quran, we are encouraged to actually wander the earth and to look at the artifacts and remains of the civilizations that preceded us. So as Muslims, we accept this, that there was these great civilizations that existed in the past. And the Quran actually indicates that they were superior as well, which is an interesting point. Now, whether that means superior to us now, or superior to the civilizations that were around in the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, I reckon that would be a matter for interpretation, as well as obviously investigation to find out, what the remains of these civilizations indicate. But who is to say that we are the most advanced human civilization that has been on the face of the earth? I mean, human beings have been living on earth for at least about 3 million years. There's plenty of time, and that's just what science has so far uncovered. I mean, there's plenty of time within 3 million years for a number of periods of 6 to 10,000 years, which is how long we've recorded history for our historical timeline that's documented, at least in some way or another. I mean, within 3 million years, there's plenty of opportunities that you could fit in 6 to 10,000 years. So there's plenty of opportunities that there could have been advanced civilizations on the face of this earth. And then some disaster come, and whatever they built, it was washed away under a tsunami, or a meteor strike, or an ice age. And whatever we've left is just these puzzling remains of previous civilizations. There is also a hadith that there were many Adams. So it's... Why am I mentioning this? It's because, there is a certain arrogance on the part of us today when we say this is how it was. Human beings evolved, and then they reached the pinnacle of biological evolution. And then from that, they started making these tools. And from these primitive tools, they then started working up to arrows and making huts and making clothes. And everything is like a timeline like this, going up, 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 up. But who's to say it's like that? I think from what I see of these fascinating remains that seem to have been built by very advanced civilizations, it would appear that our historical timeline goes back millions of years, and it's probably been more like that. So rather, it's gone up, it's gone down, it's crashed, it's come back. Whoever survived, and they rebuilt. Why that's not even entertained by a lot of historians today, I don't know. You would think they would at least have an open mind to it. Like any kind of... history is a humanity, but it is also a kind of science, especially when you bring archaeology into it and forensics and analysing things in this way. It becomes more of a science than a humanity. And either way, whether it's treated in a humanity way or in as a science, it needs evidence. Historians can't just make claims and then be taken seriously if they don't base it on something. So there needs to be some evidence there. And we should avoid being arrogant. We should avoid claiming that we know all there is to know about something, including our history. None of us really know our origins. And I'm talking about, obviously we all come from Allah. I'm not talking about that. But on this earth, how things developed on this earth, nobody really knows. They're doing these DNA tests now of people all around the world. And even in the UK, the ones they've done in the UK, they've found people in England who are descended from Genghis Khan. And I'm not talking about recent immigrants within the past century, but People that they look white English, and they've got they're descendants of Genghis Khan. Who would have thought? I mean, thanks to DNA analysis, they can find these things out and realize that there was obviously a lot more going on, even in the documented history, than what is documented. Or even if it is documented, what is generally taught and what is generally written about in the popular history books and the school history books that are published. There was a lot more interactions between different groups. There was a lot more going on in our history. And it's always pays to keep an open mind. And when we don't even really know our origins, even though we think we do, but if you think you do, look it up. Read your own history of your own country or civilization. And then read archaeological discoveries. Read what the DNA studies are showing. You'll be astonished. You'll be astonished. The things that, and also, there's books now written on hidden history or forbidden history. Things that are coming to light, some of which is even accepted by academics, but which is not generally taught, which you're not generally hearing about. And it's good to read these things because it broadens the mind. It broadens the mind and helps us to get a better understanding of what is really going on this earth. And what's really the background to everything that's going on now. And it also helps you to see through when you're being given propaganda. And these days, propaganda, it's everywhere. Propaganda is everywhere. And what is propaganda? Propaganda is a narrative that you are told. It's a story that you are told. It may have some truth in it. In fact, the best propaganda does have some truth in it. But it is mixed with all sorts of other things. Maybe something that is being sold to you. Come buy this excellent product. This is the best car in the world. It's a propaganda. Is it really the best car? How do you know? Have you done tests, impartial tests, and got people in to test that car against all its other cars like they do in, Top Gear or the Grand Tour? Then you can start to see whether the claims are true or not. But otherwise, it's just claims. And, when it comes to politics and even history that we are told, there is a lot of propaganda involved. We are told a narrative. I mean, the narrative that I was taught about our history, that I was growing up, when I was growing up in school, and then what I've learned since, it's made me rethink a lot of it. It wasn't all wrong. But there's just like, in history classes in this country, they tend to teach a bit about the Tudors, a bit about the War of the Roses, Second World War, maybe a bit about the First World War. I don't remember learning anything about the Boer War. I don't remember reading much about the Vikings, except for the very simple kind of history that I was probably taught when I was in middle school or something. And it was very, very simple stuff, like children's book stuff. But not anything really in depth. And then, the Saxons and the Angles, the Jutes, these tribes that, came to Britain and become the basis of what became the English nation in time. Or the history of the different nations of England before England became England. So when you had Mercia and Northumbria, they didn't teach us about this. I knew next to nothing about Turkish history, or Chinese history, or Indian history. Well, isn't that part of our history now? We're a global civilization. We're all interacting with each other around the world. All our histories are connected. And the history is the story of our ancestors, our human family. And the more we learn about our history, the more we realize how we are all connected as one human family. There are ancient Egyptian and Phoenician boats that are found around the British coast, buried in mud. Some of them have been installed in museums. They found these big pots. Is pots the right word? I think. Basically, they're made of pottery. These big things. They're not bottles, but they would have had olive oil in. They found them on ships around the British coast, going back to pre-Roman and Roman times. And obviously that means that people were travelling from the Mediterranean to England, and there was interaction going on there. We had Roman legions that were based in Britain for a good few hundred years while we were under Roman occupation. This was before any English people were here, because they come from the Angles, the Saxons and the Jutes. And of course the Romans come from all over. Anybody could become a legionary, a Roman citizen, if they were living within the Roman Empire. I mean, ethnically. Anybody who was living within those borders. So there would have been people from Africa there. There would have been people from the Middle East. And maybe they went to Rome, become part of a legion, was tasked to go to England or the borders of Germany. And people moved around like this. It wasn't just this storybook that we told that English history was here and Chinese history was here, Turkish history was here. It wasn't like that. This is a narrative that we are told, and the real picture is much broader. It's not as simple as that. It's not as reduced down as that. And I got onto talking about history here, but it doesn't matter what subject you talk about, you will find the same things. And we can become very arrogant when we say that this is how things are. And whether we do it ourselves or people that we know, and you will hear it a lot. And not giving room for a broader understanding. And this is also true in the realm of religion as well. There are people today within all different religions who go around insisting that theirs is the only way to understand it, and it's either our way or the highway. We don't want to know you if you don't understand it our way. What does the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, like this? Was Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, like this? Was the Buddha, peace be upon him, like this? How were they? How were they with their companions? This is not what I see. Prophet Muhammad was once approached by someone who was interested in Islam, but he was doing all sorts of things that he knew were wrong according to the teachings of Islam. And so he approached the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he asked the Prophet Muhammad, and he says to him, tell me something which I can do, because I don't know all of these things that you teach, whether I can follow them. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, stop lying. He didn't give him a long list of things which he must do. He just said, stop lying. And the man agreed. Okay, Rasulullah, I will do that. I will stop lying. And he was a sincere man. So although he was weak and he was tested, but he was a sincere man. And later, when he was going to do something else that would have been sinful, before he did it, he thought, if I do this, then tomorrow when I meet the Prophet Muhammad, I won't be able to lie. If he asks me what did I do last night, I will have to admit my sin. So he refrained. And there was a few other things that happened during the night. And then when this man went back to the Prophet Muhammad the following day, he hadn't done all those things. And so when he spoke to the Prophet Muhammad and the Prophet Muhammad asked him how he was and what he did, then he didn't have to say anything sinful. And what happened over time, this man became a very good Muslim. And all because the Prophet Muhammad just gave him one piece of advice: to stop lying. Now today, if you go to some Mulana, lots of Mulanas, they will give you a long list of things. If you want to be a Muslim, or you want to be a practicing Muslim, they'll give you a whole long list of things. Sometimes, I visualized it. It's almost like, one of those old Roman scrolls, and it's just like they open it and it rolls down on the floor. It's a list of do's and don'ts of being a Muslim. And wallahi, what is this? What is this? If that was really Islam, who could be Muslim? How could it be practiced? And this reminds me, within the Jewish tradition, they have 613 mitzvot. When people think they have 10 commandments, they actually have 613 commandments. And when I've spoken to Jewish people about this, they say, well, we can't do it. We read them to reflect, we understand what we can from them and practice what we can, but the reality is we can't do 613 commandments. No one can. And that is the lesson. Because you can't do all of those things. It's not humanly possible. But that helps them to become more humble. Because they know this is the ideal. And it's a very, very big ideal, very high ideal. Who can achieve these 613 commandments? But they know that. And they also understand that they are human. And because they can't do it, don't judge other people. Don't pointing at someone else and saying, you didn't do your 613 mitzvot. Because they haven't been able to do their 613 mitzvot. So how can they say it to someone else? All you can do is offer gentle reminders, gentle advice, encouragement to do what is good. And if a group of people stay together as friends and support each other, not in a judgmental way, but in a supportive, friendly way. They're helping each other with little things here and there. Not telling each other what to do, but just being together and doing things together. They will start to follow their Islam better. This is the point of Jama'at. Jama'at, the congregational community. That's what it's for. Because we're naturally gregarious as human beings. And we will be as good as the people who we spend time with. So if we spend time with good people who are good influence upon us, then they will help us. And in turn, when we get stronger, we also help them, because we also provide a good influence back. And we mirror off each other. And we keep checking our intentions to make sure what we're doing is in the best way. Islam is not difficult. It's not meant to be a path of difficulty. Allah says this in the Quran. It's not meant to be, it's something. Allah didn't give us this to place difficulties on us. Islam is a gift. Excuse me. Islam is a gift for humanity. It is a gift to make our lives easier. It is good advice from our Lord to help us to live harmonious, peaceful and productive lives. It's then people, they make things difficult. They make things difficult for themselves. Focusing on things where they haven't got all of the information. Like I was talking about the history earlier, people today, and they assert that they are a pure race, or they assert that, we've always fought for ourselves against this other group of people, and they've always been our enemies. You find out, you go back a few generations, they're all cousins. They're all interrelated with the very people that they claim are their worst enemies. And they don't even know it. And the people they're fighting don't even know it. Because they don't have the whole picture. If you have a picture and you're only looking at one few little small corner or a few pieces, you're not going to see everything that's reality. You're not going to see what's really going on. So how can you be puffed up like this and say, I know, and you're all wrong? Who can do that? The most we can do is say, well, this is what I've learned. From my research, this is what it indicates. It's the most we can do. And if people listen, they listen. If they don't listen, they don't listen. We might even be wrong. So if they don't listen and we're wrong, they haven't lost anything. If they don't listen and we were right, well, they missed it. But it's their loss. If they listen and we're wrong, that could actually get them into trouble. So this is also a way, we should not be so assertive when we don't have all of the facts. Always check. And this is something that is also written in the Quran as well. That when you hear something, when you hear a piece of news, to check it. Don't overreact to something that you're not sure about. I mean, just like earlier, just now, I double-checked what I read earlier in that New York Times headline because it sounded so shocking. 250,000 people in America who've died of COVID-19. I had to check it again just to be sure. I know I read it earlier today, but I was just wanting to be sure. And it's true. But that's what we should always do. If we're not sure about something, double check. I wouldn't want to be giving you wrong information. I know if I give you wrong information, I'm answerable for it. I'm answerable to all of you. And I'm answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even if it's information in a civil capacity, like that particular figure. But if I told that to you and said this is a fact and it happened to not be a fact, I'm telling something that's not true. If I intentionally tell something that's not true, that's a lie. And even if I unintentionally pass on some information that's not true, I'm misinforming you. What's the benefit of it? So always check. And these days with the internet, it really doesn't take that long to double check things. Just make sure that when you read stuff online, you're getting it from a good source. There's all sorts of dodgy websites out there as well. But if you get it from a credible source that you know and you trust, and it's not just like and you trust something that might not be a credible source, but it's something that is well known to give credible information, then you know. So, for instance, if you're looking up a word in English and you look it up in the Oxford English Dictionary, that's a credible source of information on the English language. But if you look it up on the Urban Dictionary, you might get you might get some definition that's how people use the word, but it's not something which is the maybe the correct use of the word. And the word might not even exist in the English dictionary. So, and the Urban Dictionary is also a useful resource on what's the word, slang, you know. But although it's a useful resource on slang, it's not useful on the mainstream lexicon. And you wouldn't want to, if you were writing your university dissertation, you wouldn't want to stick it full of slang, unless it was a study of slang. You'd want to make sure that you use the correct words. Anyway, I will start the zikr now. And before we start the zikr, we always check our intentions. It's a good idea to have a nice glass of water handy as well. And also you can bless the water while you're reading zikr. So we check our intentions and then we proceed. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nawaitul Abin, Nawaitul Usla, Nawaitul Kawa, Nawaitul Itikaf, Nawaitul Suluk, Nawaitul Riyada, Lillahi Ta'ala fi hada jami. And we start with the Kalama Shahada, declaration of faith. There's no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. We seek the forgiveness of God by reading Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. Ya musibul asbab, ya mufatiya abwab, ya muqlibu kalubi wal absar, ya dalail al mutakhairin, ya gaithur mustakhayathin, ya hayyu ya qayyum, ya dul jalali wal ikram, wa afridu amri Allah, inna Allahu basiran bil ibad. The Rabita Sharifa. Direct your heart to the heart of your sheikh, your spiritual teacher. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Salawatu Sharifa, blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad and his noble family. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى Ali Muhammadi wasali wa wasali Allah Muhammadi wala 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 Ali Muhammadi wasali اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. إخلاص الشريفة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد فاتحة الشريفة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Salawatul Sharif. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim ala wa salli Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim wa salli Allah Muhammadi wa Allah Ali Muhammadi wa sallim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي كاد أتيتني من الملك ولمتني من وليها حديث فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة توفاني مسلما والحقني بالصالحين آمن بالله صدق الله العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين إلا الشرف نبي وعلي وصحبه الكرام وإلى وحي أنبياء والمرسلين وكل ما شرعهم وإلى إمات أبواب وإلى مشايخنا في تركات نقشبندية عالية كاستني لآل خواجگان الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. There is no God except God. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. Muhammed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. حسبنا ذا هو رواك وله لا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سلام قولا من رب 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 الرحيم سلام قولا min Rabbir Rahim. Salamun qawlan 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 min Rabbir Rahim. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Nur-e Muhammad salli Allah. 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 Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Illa sharafi nabi sallallahu alaihi وآله وأصحابه الكرام وإلى سائر سادتنا والصديقين الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Remembrance of God. In Arabic, Allah. Allah, 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 Allahu Allah, 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 Allahu Allah, 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 Allahu 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 Allah. Allahu Allah, 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 Allahu Allah. Elizabeth,
yeah.
bring it here.
What here?
That's better than what you working with. That which you want. The croissants.
This one?
Yeah. It's open, look. Yeah, you can have. Put it back. Bismillah, right here. Who, 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 Hawk, 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 hawk. Hey, 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 hey. حسب الله ونعم الوكيل والله قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. You want to join in?
Yeah.
Right. Good girl, sit back there. Allahu Allah Hak, 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 Allahu Allah Hey, 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 Allah Hey Ya Qayyum, 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 Allah Hey Ya Qayyum. Very good. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Calling on the beautiful names of God. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Allah, Yahu, Ya Daim. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah. Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah. Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah. Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Allah. Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Allah. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah. Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafur, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafur, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafur, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghafur. Ya Sata, Ya Fata, Ya Sata, Ya Fata, Ya Sata, Ya Fata, Ya Sata, Ya Fata. Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Allah. Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Allah. Ya Mu'in, Ya Mu'in, Ya Mu'in, Ya Allah. Ya Mu'in, Ya Mu'in, Ya Mu'in, Ya Allah. Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Allah. Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Allah. Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah. Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim. Ya Hannan, Ya Mannan, Ya Hannan, Ya Mannan. Ya Hannan, Ya Mannan, Ya Hannan, Ya Mannan. Ya Dayyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayyan, Ya Subhan. Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Allah. Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Allah. Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah. Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah. Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah. Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, 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 Ya Allah. حسبنا ونعم الوكيل لا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلوات الشريفة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa sallim. صلي ربي وسلم على جميع أنبيائه ومرسلين وعلى كل أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. على أشرف الأنبياء سيدنا محمد صلوات على أفضل الأنبياء سيدنا محمد صلوات على أكمل الأنبياء سيدنا محمد صلوات صلوات الله وملائكته وأنبيائه ورسوله وجميع كوكه على محمد وعلى آل محمد عليه وعليهم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. رضي الله تبارك وتعالى عن سادتنا شعب رسول الله أجمعين وعن تبعنا بهم بإحسان وعن مرشدين مدين وعن علماء المتقين وعن أولياء الصالحين وعن مشايخنا في تركة نقشبندية عالية كرسنا وتلاهم الزاكية ونولا تهدوة مباركة ونولا درة مباركة ولله تعالى علينا من بركاتهم وفيداتهم دائما والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نستعين صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. O Allah, shower your blessings upon the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him and his family, and upon all his ancestors and descendants, and upon all the previous prophets and their families, their ancestors and descendants, and upon the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and may Allah accept them, and peace and Ya Allah bless the righteous caliphs and the family of the Prophet Muhammad, and the saints and the scholars, and especially bless my sheikhs Sufi Abdullah and Maulana Sheikh Nazim. Ya Allah bless their souls for all eternity and raise their maqam in the divine presence for all eternity. O Allah, shower your blessings upon Sunan Gunan Jati, the Wali Songo, Sheikh Yusuf, and Kiaya Dang Badruddin. And Ya Allah, bless their souls for all eternity and raise their stations in the divine presence. O Allah, shower your blessings upon my dad, upon granddad. Yeah, shower your blessings upon granddad's soul and bless his soul for all eternity. And Ya Allah, bless Nan and Gong and Pawpaw, and grant them to always be in good health and well-being, and bless their souls, and forgive them for any mistakes which they make. O Allah, shower your blessings upon Mummy and Daddy, and upon my sisters, and my uncles and aunties, and all of my nieces and nephews, and bless them all, keep them in good health and well-being, and give them good things and make them happy. Oh Allah, bless me and forgive me and give me good health and look after me, always look after me, and bless me and forgive me when I'm naughty, and encourage me to be good. Yeah. And bless all of my friends, and bless all of friends, yeah, all of Daddy's friends, and all Daddy's other friends that are not his best friends too, and all Mummy's friends, and everybody in our community, everybody in England, and in Britain, and in China, and in America, and in Europe, and Indonesia, and all of the country in the world. God bless all the people. And bless all of the animals. Bless all the trees and the flowers, and the birds and the butterflies, and make them all happy. Yeah. And forgive us all. Amen. Amen. Say Amen. Amen. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. صلي ربي وسلم على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين والكريم أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اللهم بارك ثواب ما قرناه ونور ما ترونه ولية وسيلة من روح نبينا محمد وإلا أنبياء وإلا أولياء كستان روح شاه نقشبند وإلى الشيخ عبد الله فياض داغستاني وإلى زندبيا وإلى الصوفي عبد الله وإلى مولانا الشيخ نازي مدينة لكاني وإلى مولانا الشيخ هشام كباني وإلى قيايا دانغ بدرودين وإلى شيخ داود رسوين وإلى شيخ بادشاه وإلى الشيخ حبيب الله وإلى الشيخ محمد ديل وإلى الشيخ نوكباني وإلى سعيوي سلطين وصديقيون. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Wish everybody in the UK to have a lovely evening, and wherever you are in the world, enjoy your day or enjoy your sleep or whatever. Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.